All aboard the Beacon. Season 2 has come to a close, and we're here to dive into and dissect the last 2 episodes of the season, and possibly the series. Episode 7, Free, and Episode 8, Disintegration. If this is your first time, let's get into who we is. I'm Elysia, and with me is...
I'm Luke.
And we're going to get into full spoilers for everything in both seasons of Beacon 23, as well as parts of the book it's based on, which I've read, but Luke hasn't. But I won't be spoiling the end of the book because the show certainly has not. So no worries, Luke, right?
Yeah, I am once again the fountain of all ignorance, but the show is only loosely based on the book.
Yeah, definitely an inspired by situation. I do feel like if there are further seasons, there is still more for them to mine from the book, you know?
Okay.
So I do have to say Rocky did play a role in a way that doesn't seem like it's going to happen in the show if there are more seasons because of where Rocky ended up back in the artifacts in this one. But the appearance of the alien, well, it's like, oh, well, now we're finally straying into what could be book territory.
Finally, it's taken us 2 seasons, but we might finally be re-intersecting with the book.
Right. Oh, by the way, I do have an interview planned with Glenn Mazzaro, one of the co-showrunners of this season, and fingers crossed that I'll also be able to get one with Joy Blake, the other co-showrunner. And of course, Hugh Howey has said that he'd be happy to come back as well. So I'm hoping we'll have some follow-up interviews and maybe some final thoughts and feedback for Luke and I to discuss in the coming weeks.
Yeah, Glenn, just one question. When's Series 3? How do we get Series 3? You can't stop there. You just can't.
He's going to say, tell everyone to watch.
Yeah.
And keep podcasting about it.
Yeah, you can't stop there.
Yeah, so let's go into what are your hot takes on the last 2 episodes of season 2. What did you think of them overall? Did you prefer one to the other?
I mean, I think I think it's very much a 2-part episode within the series. So I don't think it actually makes a lot of sense to think of them as separate episodes.
Okay, yeah, fair.
I mean, this is the thing. If they are the end of series 2, I like them. If they are the end of the show overall, I have more mixed feelings. There's stuff in them I really liked. I love the stuff with Halen and his dad. I think it really added to Halen's character. Bob's back. Everybody's back.
I know.
Got a lump in my throat with that.
Thank you, Joy Blake, for bringing all our babies back together for the last episode.
just for that last episode. I think that there is stuff I didn't like so much. I kind of got the impression that the writers didn't really know what to do with Iris. The whole Iris and the Sabarans plotline.
Yeah, her story doesn't feel finished.
Yeah, it felt a little bit tacked on. It felt like we can't really include Iris in the main storyline because she hasn't been around long enough, and having Harmony imprint on her might be taking things
a step too far.
Might be taking things a step too far. So where do we put her? And I will send her off on an adventure with the Sabarans.
But she has a new friend, so
she does. There was also that thing with the in the 7th episode where they're tied up in the gravity well. Just get rid of the gravity well. I don't know what it is, but there's something about the way that special effects done that falls head over ass into the uncanny valley.
Okay.
It just doesn't look... possibly I'm not watching it in the best possible way because I'm watching it on my laptop, but it just... It's a small thing, but that effect just does not work for whatever reason.
Okay.
But yeah, I could have done without the Sabarans, basically. Everything else is great.
But then Iris would be alone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and like I say, it's a really frustrating ending because you feel like you've sort of got to the point of the entire 2 seasons, which is to bring the characters face to face with the whatever is living in the artifact, and all of a sudden it just goes dumph. It ends. So, like, if that's the final scene of the entire show, I've got to say I will find that very frustrating. If that's the final scene of season 2, it's a good way to end the season.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Good season finale. It wouldn't leave me fully satisfied as a series finale.
No.
Although my headcanon, if it doesn't go on, is going to be that it just then swerves and ends the way the book does.
Okay.
So if there's no more seasons of this, everyone read the book. You should anyway. It's only 180 pages.
Yeah.
By the way, so there was on the Three Hosts and a Beacon podcast, which is officially sponsored by Boat Rocker, the production company behind it. They got an interview with Ellen Wong, who plays Iris, and she confirmed that Glenn Mazzaro based certain character traits on her, like the language spoken. And he asked her, like, what instrument do you play? And she's like, I used to play the clarinet. And he's like, okay. And so we'll do a clarinet piece. And then they sent it to her. And she's like, oh my God, I don't play the clarinet that well. But then she realized if she pitched it down, then she could play it more easily if it was just like a little lower. And so that was the song that ended up in the show.
Okay, but I love the idea of, like, Glenn, I don't play it that well. Any chance we could do three blind mice instead?
She very movingly plays cross puns. Okay, so I have to ask you how did we end this? Join Jettison jail?
Yes,
join
that
jail
was the
Jettison?
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, join jail Jettison, Halen, Aster, Iris.
I'm joining Halen.
Okay.
I don't want to jettison Iris, but if you're giving me those 3 choices, Iris is probably the least essential of the characters, so probably jettison Iris.
Poor Iris.
Yeah. And Joe Aster.
Joe Aster, yeah. I'm probably I don't know, because I think actually Iris would be the most pleasant to be around. Like, she'd be genuinely helpful.
Yeah, that's true.
But then maybe lecture a bit, you know?
In these 2 episodes, I think that was one of my problems with these 2 episodes. It's like, given what the Sabarans did in episode 6, I think Iris is being almost without, like, further explanation, she's being, like, almost unreasonably helpful.
Kind. Yeah. No, it's definitely pathological. We're going to talk about that for sure.
Yeah.
I think that, I think it would be in my best interest to join Iris and then jail Aster and Jettison Halen. Sorry, I don't mean to. It's just
okay.
He can survive for a little bit
with his implants. Yeah, he can.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
he'll get picked up. Okay, so I'm going to ask you another version, but for this, I'm taking away that sort of logic as an option. I mean, we're doing the AI edition. So in the AI edition, they are all put in human bodies so that they can be jettisoned properly.
Okay.
And second new rule, there's going to be 4 of them. So the 4th is a wild card. You can pick one category that has 2 characters in it. Okay. So it's the AI edition. So we're doing Harmony, Bart, Aleph, and Dev.
Okay, well, Jettison is definitely Aleph and Dev.
That's killing them both is the one you're doing 2 for?
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. Dev is really creepy. That is a great piece of acting because it's really difficult to make a character that genuinely skin crawlingly. So Dev and Aleph are definitely getting jettisoned. I would join Bart because I think I can fix him. He needs fixing.
That's what all the girls say.
Yeah. Yeah, and jail. Uh,
Jail
yeah,
Jail Harmony or
jail harmony. Sorry, I'm in bookend. My brain is just to quote Alice. My brain is scrambled eggs at the moment. So
um okay. I mean, I think I'm gonna join Harmony. She's like super powered now.
yeah. Well, so is
Um
everybody else. So
yeah, but she's like she might even be, as powerful as Aleph, but with a more moral backbone.
yeah,
Um all right, I'm gonna join her and Bart. They can both come with me together. I'm going to jail. Um, I'm gonna jail Dev and jettison Aleph, just for the good of the human race.
yeah. Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can definitely. I can definitely see the logic behind that selection.
Do you have any favorite episodes of the season overall?
I think actually the first episode, because it did a
Mm,
really good job of introducing a major new character, and sort of making you care about them in the space of 45 minutes, which is
that's true.
which is difficult to do.
Wait, but no, but that was the third episode when Iris was joined, right? Because the first one was wrapping up season one.
Oh
Second
yeah,
one was Harmony in Purgatory.
yeah. I'm sorry. Yes, so episode. Yes,
Okay.
sorry, I'm getting them muddled up. Yes, episode 3. Then in that case.
Yeah, for me it would be 2 and 3 because I thought that was a cool, creepy one with Harmony and HQ, and with
Yeah,
like the very office space horror vibes.
yeah, I like the line from Olive in the last episode. You killed your co-workers. It caused quite a stir ahead of.
Yeah, so we did not get the continuation of young Astor's story, but I didn't really feel it. I felt like I didn't miss it. Like I could just make assumptions about
Yeah,
connecting the dots.
yeah. I mean, who knows? We may get a season 3 that may get filled in.
Hmm.
But yeah, I didn't feel like I needed that to be completed
No.
in order to finish the story.
No, honestly, I would have been more interested. Well, the only thing I wanted from that actually more so was I wanted confirmation. Is Astor one of the founders of the column or the proto column or whatever? I wanted more information about her parents. What happened to like her father after his arrest?
Yeah,
How because her mother they always made a big deal about how her mother just went missing. I mean, she was presumed dead, probably dead, but when you don't see the death on screen, you know how it goes.
yeah. It hasn't happened until you see a body.
Right. And now that they've introduced Iris, I want more of that.
Yeah.
All right, let's dive into the answers that we did get. We're going to just take a really quick break, and then right afterwards, we'll do our scene by scene breakdown of episode 7.
Research request granted. Spoilers unlocked.
Okay, episode 7, titled Free. So it seemed like there were a lot of teases of freedom in this episode, but everyone ended up either trapped or dead in the end. Do
Yeah.
you think the idea is like freedom is an illusion?
Yeah, no, I think somebody was just being a bit ironic with the episode title, but yeah, there's not a lot of freedom in this episode. There's a lot of people trying to find freedom, but like you say,
Right.
nobody actually does.
Yeah, and when they do, it's at the expense of somebody else's life or something like that.
Yeah,
So this episode was written by Christina Martin, who previously worked on shows Debt Collectors, Giants, and Unapologetically Black. And it was directed by Nick Kopus, who's done lots of stuff, including EastEnders, The 4400, Nikita, American Gods, Animal Kingdom. So we start with Iris, played by Ellen Wong, and Halen, played by Stephen James, are woken from their sleepy time song, tied up in the no gravity well, and Iris struggles to get free, but Halen is consumed by memories of Gashad, played by Bo Martinowska, his teammate and special friend he remembers dying in his arms. Meanwhile, the Sabarans start bleeding out the traitor Dosto, played by David Tompa. Do you think like they wanted to keep Dosto's blood or just kill him slowly?
I just thought this must just have been the form of execution on Sabara. This is just how they put people to death.
Are they like reclaiming his protein? That could, I mean, I could see why they would. Yeah.
Quite possibly, because like Aleph says earlier on in the series, with the column people that like Kaelin should get busy recycling their water and protein. So maybe
Yeah,
this is a way of doing it.
Yeah, especially if they live on a sparse moon where they
Yeah.
apparently can't grow food. Dev, Noah Lamana, comes to turn the machine off, saving Dosto and finally getting that traumatic imprint moment he's been looking for. And Dosto says, "Do whatever you do and be done." And Dev says, "That is precisely the invitation I was waiting for." Like, this still is giving me sexual assault overtones.
Yeah, it's sort of sexual assault. I also thought that like this looked very vampiric. I mean, it's partly because of the blood as well, but it's also like the expression on Dev's face is like he opens his mouth like mouth like really wide and sort of lunges,
like he's coming in for a bite.
Dosto. So it all looked very vampiric as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we see this sort of, it was like a mind meld thing where it almost looked like Dev went into Dosto.
Yeah, like, I'm not sure that's what, because like, as far as we know, Harmony never did anything like that with Halen or Asta, so I'm not really sure that's what imprinting is supposed to be, what it's supposed to look like.
Well, I think, I mean, but then, yeah, the toxic relationship analogy continues with that. Yeah, like that's not what it's supposed to look like, bonding.
Yeah.
But yeah, the actor is great. I can see why they wanted to keep this character around.
Yeah, because it is really difficult to do that kind of character with no apparent redeeming features.
Yeah. The thing about the gravity well, I thought you were going to say is like, it felt like, why even bother tying them up because they're out within 2 minutes?
Yeah.
It was just a cliffhanger for the sake of a cliffhanger.
Yeah, and like I say, that effect, I don't know what's wrong with it, but there is something that it just doesn't look right. I don't know why.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but the excuse they give is Yiki, the one with the silver forehead, played by Ish Morris, apparently didn't do the tying up well, or else Iris is maybe a prodigy at knots, which honestly seems likely to me.
Yeah, I could easily see Iris being a prodigy at knots. She's a prodigy at everything else. So
yeah, I can imagine her just like there practicing tying knots and untying knots. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's free, which means Halen is as well. And Iris is like, "I've got earplugs and a stubborn streak, so just try fucking talking. Just try fucking talking to me this time."
I love that. I've got earplugs.
Yeah. She's like, "I'm trying to help. I want to help you get away from here. Let me help you." And this is a theme that definitely comes back a lot because the other person who cannot accept help from anyone is Halen.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. But it's like this is the thing. If we do get more episodes, one of the things I'm going to want is some backstory on Iris as to why she is so pathologically helpful. Because the Sabarans have done nothing but cause you like existential trouble since they arrived. They've done. Which is not to say that people should be deserving of help or deserving of pity, but it seemed like a slightly weird reaction that Iris was just prepared to blow all that off and sort of focus on helping them without seemingly being that angry at, without seemingly having to pass through like a phase of being angry at them, given that you've drugged that. Well, I don't know whether you'd say they drugged them, but they knocked them out, tied them up, tried to dismantle the beacon. They've basically been extremely antagonistic towards Iris and Halen almost from the moment they met. And I'm not saying that it's not a reason. Well, I guess I am saying it's not a reasonable reaction for Iris to still want to be that helpful. But I'd like to have seen some explanation as to why you are so pathologically insistent on helping these people who have done nothing but be aggressive towards you from like minute one.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the reasons why I most want another season is because I want to understand Iris better. She is a unique, wholly formed character, but you can see there's a past we don't know about that drives her. Yeah, and also, so when Iris, she's saying this to Zalterica, is the name of the one with the white stripes on her face, played by Tanika Davis. She's the one who stays later. So she's apparently so moved at this point, she runs away. I guess that's how I interpreted that, based on the fact she stayed later. She just runs away after Iris says, "I'm trying to help you, let me."
Yeah, I wasn't really sure what was going on there, to be honest. But yeah, that's certainly one possible explanation.
And meanwhile, Harmony, Natasha Mumba, is surprised. Dev saves Dosto's life, but I think she shouldn't be, because she knows Dev was desperate to imprint, and here's that life or death situation. Then Yaki says to Halen, "Apologies for earlier." Wow, they all just keep stripping down. It's like, "I'm so sorry about earlier, but I'm just going to keep taking your beacon apart while we build our ship." And it turns out now they're stripping Iris's ship as well. So they know that her ship is there. Why are they building a new one from scratch?
You've got a perfectly good ship there, and you will
You
all
just
easily
gotta get around whatever,
You will
turn off the
all easily
engine.
fit. Because the first thing I thought is, oh, maybe they have to build a bigger ship. Maybe they have to make it larger. Maybe they won't all fit in Iris's ship. But then you look back on it and like, no, it would be a little bit cramped, but you would all fit.
Or at least like use the existing ship as a base, add to it or something. I don't know. Anyway. So another Sabara named Sagi, played by Prince Amponsa, says, "Sorry, our song hit you so hard, dude. Didn't realize you were traumatized and all that." And he gives,
gee, thanks.
yeah. And he gives Halen back Rocky and he tells Halen something Halen does not listen to but should. He says, "Let Iris help you." So yeah, that's good advice. I wish I had an Iris.
I think everybody wishes they had an Iris, and I think Halen should get that printed on a t-shirt.
I wish I have an Iris and I gave it up.
No, I think let Iris help
Just help
you. You should carry that around on a post-it note or something.
And then we hear that there's a new ship showing up, UGMC, Long Range Gunship, Druta Fix. And even though it's called a long range gunship, apparently it doesn't travel solo, so they know that there's a carrier nearby.
Yeah.
It's coming from the Snake Nebula, which is real, by the way, but they say the Ithaca Noma system, and as far as I think as far as I know, that's fake. And they says names and ranks are classified. So I guess that's so we don't know Halen's dad's on there.
Yes, I think that's probably why.
And they say the only thing over there is a T6 colony, but we don't know what that is, do we?
No.
Some sort of mining colony? I don't know. So Iris thinks Halen can broker a truce with this military ship incoming. She knows the situation, right? She's just like hopelessly idealistic.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the point. That this isn't idealism at this point. This is just rank naivety. This is just Iris, wake up and smell the coffee.
Yeah.
Like I really like Iris as a character, but these last two episodes, it really did feel like they didn't quite know what to do with her, because she doesn't fit neatly with the plot line that Asta and Halen and Harmony are on. She just feels like she arrived too late in the story.
Well, to tell you the truth, she arrives at the same time in this story versus the book, when another character named Claire arrives, and they could have followed a very similar trajectory, but then they ended up adding all these other people, which took away from that story, because there's all this other stuff going on.
Okay.
But she does start to exert herself. When the Sabarans start doing their sign language now, she's like, "No, we're done with this shit." And Spartans are like, "Okay, fine. We're just going to go get ready to fight. We're not going to let them take us." And although the beacon's armed, they can't fire on military or ISA vessels. And Iris still keeps, I mean, I guess it makes sense they can't fire on military. But
yeah.
And then the two bug cops enter the beacon with cannon guns. So clearly they come in peace.
Yeah, I have questions. Why send two people? Like, there's clearly more people on that ship, so why just send two of them? And also, I think one of the strengths of the show throughout has been the quality of the design and the the costumes, but I don't know what happened here because, I'm sorry, those helmets just make them look silly.
But I wonder if that's part of the point. They look like ant heads, and that must be on purpose. Like they
Yeah,
must
I
be
guess.
bug cops on purpose. But I do wonder. Well, first of all, two thoughts. One, I bet that protects their heads. Really, they look really thick and cushioned.
They do look really thick and cushioned.
And two, Halen did never have to wear that, did he?
No, not with Stephen James's perfect hair. Come on.
No, we couldn't do that. We certainly didn't see him wearing those helmets in the flashbacks.
No, but yeah, why? I think the more pertinent question is why are there only two of them? There must be more than 3 people. Well, 4 people because there's the doctor, I guess. But there must be more than that on the ship.
Maybe his father only sent 2 because he's like, I don't actually want you to hurt my son. But don't you think if he wanted his son to stand down, he should have just come himself?
Yeah, just come himself.
Halen, it's me.
Yeah. What is the point? I mean, I think it was cool because it gave you a really cool location. And
I liked the location.
But what is the point of doing the whole simulation ball sticking on his chest thing? Yeah.
Okay. Well, before we get to that, so Harmony, they call for the beacon AI, and Harmony pops up like, "You rang. This is." And the beacon has sustained significant non-emergent. So now it makes sense that she's using this opaque language, but she's basically like, the beacon's hurt. It's fine though, but we can't use the cupola, so nobody's tripping balls.
Yeah. So we now know why nobody can get to the Gwib.
I mean, maybe if they could get some Gwib juice, everyone would calm the fuck down.
Everyone would just calm down. Yeah.
But then Harmony says there's no one on board, and so which immediately gives away her ability to lie. And they call it a fun hack. They're like, "Oh, you don't even know." So she starts quoting treaties at them, which is funny that that's her and Iris's move especially. And so they quote unquote sandbox her, or at least they think they do. And she says later, "Oh yeah, it's easier to just play along and let them think they have control." So Dosto comes slinking out of the shadows, and he's like, first chance he gets, he's like, "Oh, let me snitch. I am here. I am the ambassador." So it's clarified indeed. He's not originally from Sabara. He was the ambassador from Muvalala. I like that name. Muvalala. He was a Sheno or Muvalala. Anyway. As soon as he can snitch, he does it with glee. Like he's just smiling, having a great time. Like, all 6 of them are down on the power level. Get them. Get them. And Dev pops up too and requests immunity and safe passage on Dosto's behalf in exchange for more information and cooperation. But the Buggos don't have any time for this, so they just lock Dosto up to get him out of the way. And Dev's like, never really liked him anyway.
Yeah, it's like you can't have imprinted, because that was a very shallow imprint. It's just like boom, you're no help to me anymore. Boom.
Yeah. Definitely not a deep, genuine one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we know the cops are not looking for the Sabarans. They're looking. I guess I should call them soldiers, but they just look like cops.
Yeah, they do look like, because they've got those. They've got those nightstick things. Mm-hmm.
So they know who they're looking for, and they say he's got a full package of military upgrades. So watch your 6. And then they yell out, "Surrender if you want to live." And we're just interested in Halen. What do you think they would have done with the Sabarans if the Sabarans did give themselves up? I think they would have just killed them anyway.
Yeah, I think they wouldn't. They were just getting in the way. So, particularly I don't know if she has a name, but we see later on the female soldier just kills anybody that gets between her and what QTA is telling her to do. She's the worst. Yeah.
Yeah, her name's Kaysen.
Oh, she had Kaysen. Okay.
Yeah. So Halen and the Sabarans attack the Buggos, but the Buggos have the guns, and Halen, he puts up the best fight, as he should. That makes sense. But Buggo Bitch shoots one of the Sabarans point blank, and I got really up in arms when the other guy, Buggo Bastard, started mishandling Iris.
Yeah.
How dare you?
You don't put and also I suppose that this is very much in keeping with what we know about the QTA, but it's like, guys, not everything needs to be solved with violence. Like, you're not here for the Sabarans. You're not here for Iris.
Right.
You could just let these people be on their way. It wouldn't make any difference.
Although on their way in what?
True.
Oh, by the way, so to just give them their proper respect, Buggo Bitch is called Kaysen and is played by Janine Goosen, and Buggo Bastard is Val Endu, played by Josh Peace.
Okay. Like I say, I completely missed that they had names, so...
Yeah, I mean, I pay attention to that, but then I don't even know that they said them until later in the episode.
Okay.
So most of the Sabarans get locked up, and Kaysen throws a pokeball at Halen, and her partner yells, "I choose you, simulation," and it sticks to Halen's chest, and he wakes up on a sunny pier in the middle of the ocean to find his father sitting at the table waiting for him. So Luke's still laughing. His father is Kadir Sue Nielsen, played by Ben Kane.
I hadn't thought about that, but that is exactly what it looks. That is exactly what it looks like. Oh, yeah.
So who's the worst father? Halen's dad to Halen or Halen to Bart?
Ooh, that is a good question. I'm gonna say Halen. I'm gonna say Halen's dad to Halen, because Bart's problem. Halen didn't make Bart's problems better, but let's face it, Bart's problems pre-existed Halen's showing up.
This
Whereas, like, Halen's dad is not a bad guy, but he's clearly not somebody. He can only relate to Halen as a soldier, as a commanding officer to a soldier. He can't. One of the nice things about these two episodes is you do see him try to relate to Halen more as a son. Yeah. As the two episodes go on.
But we do definitely see why Halen treated Bart, because obviously Bart looked as his keepers like parents. And Halen was dismissive of Bart in the same way his father was dismissive of him.
Yeah, that's true.
And we learned that Halen basically got psych ops training as a kid instead of hugs. So he thinks he's ready for whatever game his dad's up to. But Daddy's here to be commander, not a father. Seems like he's also afraid of Aleph.
I think everybody in this universe is afraid of Aleph to some extent, with the possible exception of Harmony.
Yeah. Or maybe Iris, because sweet summer child Iris is trying to call the ISA for help again. With no answer, of course. And then starts citing the Palovian agreement like her words have power, which apparently in this situation Kaysen doesn't care.
Yeah, it's like, Iris, read the room, sweetie, read the room.
Kaysen just shoots the computer, so there we go, twice. So I guess we won't learn more about Beacon Keeper 331 and the Beacon Keeper network this season.
No.
So Halen's now unconscious in his simulation, and Sabarans who weren't captured free the others. They decide to steal the military ship, but one is dead and one badly injured. And Kaysen, who sees them as terrorists, she traps them in the airlock. And she wants to space them, but Harmony secretly assures Iris that she's only been pretending to, be under the control of the Buggos. Iris asks her to shut down all beacon systems, despite the risk, before Kaysen can space the Sabarans. Harmony also needs to make sure, though, that they don't prevent the shutdown from the mainframe, because in the mainframe, they could prevent Harmony from doing the shutdown. So Harmony presents herself to run a full systems check, and instead she starts shutting down everything before they realize what she's doing, and she just plays dumb about it the whole way. It's great.
Yeah, I just love this because that whole scene is so true to life. When you've got an IT problem and you just can't fix it, it's like, I'm telling you what I want you to do, and it's like the computer's just looking at you going, no, I don't understand.
Well, it's also, she's like, well, of course I cannot open the airlock. There are life forms inside. The life forms must first be removed from the airlock.
Yeah, I don't think Beacon 23 is a show with a lot of humor in it, but I did find that very funny.
Well, it has its moments.
Yeah, it has its moments.
And Harmony, she can't get into the Halen simulation because the location keeps being bounced all over the place. But apparently, the location inside the simulation is a dock nearby where Halen celebrated his 13th birthday, the last one before ... Do you think it's like before his mother died or something?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Like, I think that exchange is really sort of emblematic of Halen and his dad's relationship, because Halen remembers this really fondly, and it's like going, it's a shitty beach with kids running around and
Yeah.
a pier, and it's
How
what's
hard of
the
touch do you have to be not to understand why kids like the beach?
yeah, like, I mean, this is the thing. Halen's dad is not a bad person, but he's just he's very institutionalized into the military, into QTA.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of those really good examples of getting a lot of information across to the audience using very few lines, but just because it's a really good exploration of their characters without them having to say a lot.
Right. Yeah. So Halen tells this story about how his friend saw this like dock rock thing that they're on, and threw a spyglass and dared him to race him there. And his dad asks, "Did you win?" And Halen's like, "I didn't even make it into the water." He's like, "You grabbed me and lectured me." So on the one hand, it's kind of like, oh, that's again showing that his dad is lame. But on the other hand, his dad, first of all, his dad admitted that the adults were drinking and having their own party. So I think he was having more fun than he let on. But the fact that they are there in this simulation at that location means that his dad remembers that as a fond memory or something, or somewhere where he thinks Halen will be calm at least.
Yeah, possibly. Although I thought it was the other way around. I thought it was Halen populating the simulation with somewhere where he would feel comfortable with his dad.
Oh, it could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if he knew when he showed up there. I don't know if he knew his dad was there, but maybe they did trigger a memory in his mind. Like we see the desk show up later.
I think either way works, but that's the way I read it.
Okay. All right. While back in the real world, while the blue-lipped Sabarin, the Tajiriki, played by Mirth and Stag, she's dying. But Dev reappears after apparently being detained behind a military firewall. So I wondered if Dev went digging around in their system at all, but that didn't end up paying off.
That's not to say that he didn't. It just didn't end up paying off.
But Dev says the plan is very much in place. Trust me, to Dosto. And yeah, that's when it became clear to me, like, oh, there's a plan, but it's not going to benefit you, Dosto. Dev's like, okay, we got to steal this military ship. And Dosto says he doesn't have the military experience, let alone the upper body strength. I'm like,
yeah,
what do you mean?
What's the thing with the upper body strength?
Yeah. Is that to fight the officers, or like what kind of weird?
I mean, is that the way it's piloted? Does it require a lot of upper body strength?
I don't know.
To pilot
that's what I was wondering.
It's like,
or maybe just to like fight off the officers or something.
Yeah, I think this is one of those things where like there may have been another scene in this episode, or there may have been a scene in a previous episode that would have made that line make sense, but somebody forgot to edit it out.
I'm going to go with to fight off the buggos.
But, yeah, okay.
So then Dev gives Dosto this BS pep talk, like, you should have gotten that promotion to chief foreman, not Fortnaw. Like, sorry, Fartnaw. And Dev laughs along like a big fake, scary fake. Like, yeah, that guy was lazy, not like you, a man who gets things done. I bet you could even convince them to help you.
And it's like, Dosto, how it's like there's an occasional thing I do when stuff like this happens, which is just to yell at the screen, "You're too stupid to live." It's like, no.
Well,
I mean, like in this particular case, go ahead, Dosto, because I really don't care whether you live or die. But come on.
Yeah, it was clear to me then, though. I was like, oh, Dev's trying to get this guy killed. And indeed, Dev trapped him, and so that the Sabarins just beat and stab Dosto to death, and then and Dev just walks out to the ship.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, back to Halen's conversation with his father, we get a list of Halen's crimes beyond desertion. He harbored no members of the column. aided and abetted in the murder of Agent Coley, gave comfort and quarter to QTA defector Astor Calix, played by Lee Nahidi, of course. Halen's like, I can't help that people keep coming to my hideout, and if they come after me, my bestie, they will be dealt with. And we are not talking about her, by the way. The end. Conversation done. And Dad's like, you were supposed to go on this mission to DX-113. And Halen's like, Dad, I failed, and I got my girl killed and everyone else. And Dad's like, son, the mission never happened, and the girl's alive. And then he calls her up, and she's like, Halen who? Never met him. Big ouch.
Yeah.
So I guess she had her mind wiped.
Yeah, quite possibly.
This is what I gather. I think the mission happened. Dad was lied to or memories tampered with. I think both. Gashad somehow survived after Halen was let off by the silicate spores in his brain, and then her memory was wiped. And now she's on this transporter, a DZ Argon, en route to Kizala Vidir, 3 clicks north of the mining fields. And now here we are.
Yeah, I mean, well, we know the QTA can mess with people's perceptions and people's memories, so that's entirely possible.
Yeah, no, I think that's kind of confirmed later.
Yeah, so I don't. The one question I did have is Halen's dad. Has Halen's dad's memory been tampered with, or is he in on it? Because
Aleph says later that his memory, or in the next episode, he basically said his memory was tampered with.
Okay,
I have a question. So she says 3 clicks north of the mining fields, but I'm guessing if they're on a ship, they don't mean kilometers.
Yeah,
do you think clicks has evolved to mean some greater distance, like
light years, possibly?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, like the way, we still hang up the phone even though we don't literally hang it up, or we read an audiobook or whatever.
Yeah.
Just an interesting thing I noticed. So she also says, no hostiles in the area, but we have orders to suppress. So if there is another season of this show, I wouldn't mind if they gave a little more nuance to the military. Because they're getting awfully mustache twirly in the last 2 episodes.
They are getting awfully mustache twirly. And it's also like, why is the military okay? Like, the whole sort of story with Aleph kind of presupposes that, like, the entirety of humanity minus the column is okay with AI. I'd like to know more about the power relationships between humanity in general and Aleph / AI in particular, because season 1 started with the premise that AI exists, but the humans are still in charge. By the time we get to the end of season 2, it's very much clear that actually the opposite is the case.
Yeah.
That Aleph is really running everything that's not the column.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
So I'd really like more. I think you're right about a more nuanced role for the military, but I think it goes a bit wider than that. I want to know what the relationship is between humanity, and not just Aleph, but AI in general, because I think it was doing something really interesting with starting off with AI being, servants to the humans, and actually we've now gotten to the point where it's quite clear that humans are the servants of AI.
Yeah, and they say when his dad is talking to him about this, he says the mission never happened, and he says we negotiated a treaty with the QTA. So was the mission to go fight the QTA? Which made me wonder, is this sort of like a 1984 kind of war situation where they just they have the countries fighting. They have the countries like pretending to fight mostly, or just fighting to just for the sake of distraction?
Yeah, I'm not sure the showrunners. I mean, that would be an interesting question to put to Glenn Matsara in the interview. Is what is the background of all of this? Because, in a sense, it doesn't really matter. The immediate story they're telling, isn't really affected by this stuff. It would just be neat world building, or whether there is like plans to expand out the universe and talk more about what's going on outside of the beacon system.
Yeah. I do think that the dad believes the mission never happened, though. I do think he isn't in on it, per se. Like, he's a little complicit because I think he's a coward. He outs himself as a coward, basically, or Harmony calls him out. but I don't think he means ill to his son.
No, I don't think he does.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what redeems him from that. That's what makes him different from a Dosto or a Dev or an Aleph. He's not evil. He's just complicit.
Yeah. And then Iris drops I'm an unarmed ISA agent protected by the Freedom of Service Act. And she just like drops that line like a badass and runs away. And she's like, because you know what's really badass? Bureaucracy.
Legal interpretation, bitch.
And K-Sin, apparently the sin stands for sinful because she's like, I like guns. And Iris just leads her into a chase and then sneaks up and grabs her stun gun and uses it on her, knocking her out.
Yeah, it got very Doctor Who there for a minute. Lots of people running down corridors.
In the good way or the bad way?
In a good way. Like I say, I think one of the things Beacon 23 generally does quite well is use what is clearly a limited budget to good effect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what Doctor Who had to do for a very long time too. So yeah, in the meanwhile, the Sabarins who were released by the dearly deceased Dosto, they go for the military ship. And Iris is disappointed with them for killing Dosto, but she forgets about it pretty much immediately because she's like, Dosto sucked.
Yeah.
She steps over and she's like, hey guys, what was, oh well.
Yeah, like I say, I think Iris and the Sabarans was like the weakest element of both of these episodes because I think Iris just makes a whole bunch of decisions that I'm not saying they don't make sense. I just want I need to know more about how she got there basically because, like I say, she just seems like pathologically helpful towards these people. And I don't buy it.
But her morals do seem to be shifting because she next asks Harmony to, quote unquote, take care of Dev when he tries to steal that ship for himself. And Iris is like, I made a promise and damn whoever has to die for me to see it through. Though I guess she probably doesn't think about it that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, Dev is very transparent. Harmony says, Dosto is dead. And Dev smiles like, sad. But that frees me up to go anywhere I like, which reminds me of, the Loki salad meme where Loki's like, yeah, it's very sad anyway.
Yeah, but also, Dev, you could have done that anyway. Like,
no, but once Dev and Dosto were imprinted on each other, then I think Dev is like tied to Dosto's.
Yeah, but then this is the thing. Like, why is Dev so desperate to imprint on somebody? If all he really wants to do is just go anywhere, he could have done that before he imprinted.
But I think that he couldn't go anywhere until Harmony did the thing the other episode.
Oh yeah, where she's rewriting a code. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. So yeah, Harmony basically says as much now that Dev has freedom because Harmony rebuilt his code, intending to send him away. But now that Dev won't stop being a dick, Harmony's like, I made you and I can unmake you. And then she does.
Yeah, and that was. I wonder. Because she says she's like reprogramming Dev. I wonder if, like in future seasons, we'll get like a pleasant, helpful version of Dev.
But then she said she's fixing Dev's bugs and he will no longer be AI, but doesn't say destroying him. So I wonder if that means the code still exists in some form, but no longer AI, whatever that means.
Yeah, like I wonder if I think it would be quite cool if there was a future season. And they got the actor that played Dev back, and
it's like completely blank.
Yeah, the character is called Dev, but they're just they're just super helpful and super and sort of super sort of compliant.
But every once in a while, there's a glitch.
Yes.
But meanwhile, in the simulation, Halen's reeling from his dad's misguided, quote-unquote, revelations. And so when his dad offers him a new implant, promising it will fix all of his problems, he takes it. He wakes up, and I guess the implant was in the Pokeball because it's now in his hand in the real world. And,
But also, like, if I'm Halen at this point, no way is anybody putting anything else in my brain. Anything else in my brain. Like, I understand why in that moment Halen made that decision, but I'm almost sure he regretted it in the next second.
Yeah, well, later he's basically, right before his surgery, he's like, I'm sorry, I'm out on this trying to be a good person thing because it's it's easier for him if he accepts the explanation that he like none of it ever actually happened, and all the things he's been torturing about himself he didn't actually do.
Yeah. And that kind of makes sense from Halen's point of view.
Yeah. Yeah, and Harmony's like, how can I help you? And Halen's like, I have to help myself now. I'm like, Halen, the Sabaran dude just said to you, let your friends help you.
But also, it's the Sabaran dude that said it. I wouldn't.
Well, okay. But
Yeah.
So Iris gets all the Sabarans on the ship and is like, ditch the flight recorder in the first nebula you see. And Silver Forehead, I forget his name, invites her to come with them, worried she'll be killed if she stays. But she says she can't leave. Can't say anyone else around here is going to show her that kind of loyalty, though.
Well, Halen probably
He leaves
would.
her. Well, not completely voluntarily. Well, kind of voluntarily.
Yeah, I guess.
But then what's the guy's name? Kiki? Anyway, Silver Forehead gives her a hammer, and Iris is like, oh, I had a gun, but you can have it. And I'm like, this is the point where I'm like, Iris, you just traded a gun for a hammer?
Yeah, I'm just going to let that one slide.
I mean, obviously the hammers have some sort of symbolic significance because later the other one gives her a hammer as well to thank her. So this must be like giving a personal effect that's a tool of their trade. You know, that's a sign of respect. But then Iris gives him a gun. Like, okay,
but like, why are you giving these people? Why would you give these people guns?
So Iris is happy to see that Halen's woken up, but he seems kind of like zombie-like, barely with it. And Iris tries to stop them, but the Buggos use remote access to shut down the ship the Sabarans have taken, including the life support, which seems a little bit over the top. And Halen's like, sorry, I can't help you help them. I just can't even help myself. And he's just totally ready for a tech lobotomy. But he says he doesn't want to be a burden on Iris, but he doesn't get that that's what makes her feel alive. Like, she's like, lean on me. I need this. But he's like, me soldier, you civilian, me protect to you.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, like I say, I can't really say anything more about Iris, and other than that, I really want to know why she is so pathologically helpful, because it's just like, I get that you're a good person, Iris. I get that you want to help. I get that you take the duty of being a beacon keeper very seriously. But come on, this is way out there past all that. This is frankly a little bit odd.
But then Daddy arrives, ready to not watch his son go under the knife. And we get a gross out shot of them opening Halen's scalp to drill into the base of his skull. And then he appears in a version of the beacon that's been put through a dreamy, blurry filter with an echo effect on the audio. He's like, what's this? He asks to Aleph. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Played by Eric Lang. Were you excited to see him?
Yeah, because Aleph is he is a great villain. He is a really good, proper, 24-karat mustache twirling villain, and
but he does have surprising nuance.
Yeah, I was going to say, but like all the best villains, he believes he's the hero. He is the hero of his own story, and like Eric Lang just inhabits that character, really, really well.
Yeah, and I love how we learn in the next episode that he has no idea why he's there or anyone's there, but he just plays it at the end of this episode. He plays it like he always plays it, like he's in charge. He's like, have a seat. like it's his party. Oh, thanks for showing up now that I invited you. Even though that's not the case at all. All right. So that ends that episode, and that brings us to the final episode of Season 2, Episode 8, Disintegration. And this is the more depressing title, but maybe the more hopeful episode?
Well, it's a weird title because at the end of the episode, you actually do the exact opposite of disintegration happening. There's a lot of integration going on. and
Mhm.
arguably there's a new life form being born.
With the harmony complex.
Yeah, the harmony. Yeah, the harmony who is one yet many.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
So this episode was written by Joy Blake, co-showrunner, also wrote episode 4, Birth. And it was directed by Lewin Webb, who also directed episode 2, Purgatory, and episode 6, Lewin Casca. And the recap reminded me, I think Harmony really did kill Good Cop and Bad Cop in the QTA HQ. Has Harmony killed more beings than Bart yet? Like between Harmony, Bart, and Dev, who is the most murderous AI of all? Because Harmony kills a few people this episode,
Harmony
actually.
does kill a few people this episode. It's got to be one of Harmony, or well, I would say it's one of Harmony or Bart based on what we've seen on the screen. But I can easily imagine that Dev has killed his fair share of people that we don't know about yet.
Right. Let's just assume Dev for fun.
Yeah.
So Harmony's playing with the beacon doors and remembering the good and the bad times there, and remembers no one escapes Beacon 23 with their sanity. And Halen is in the Aleph reality, but Aleph even says he hopes it's not permanent. So Aleph is just faking being relaxed. But Aleph takes his tea and his biscotti because he loves the anisette. And
I love that. What time is it? It's tea o'clock. It's tea o'clock.
yeah.
I didn't know Aleph. I didn't know Aleph was at least part British. You know, I can very much relate to that. Although I don't like the taste of aniseed, and I don't really like biscotti, but I can definitely relate to it being tea o'clock.
I mean, I will take you take the tea, I'll take the biscotti. Give me an herbal tea to put it in. Nothing with actual tea leaves in it. I like flower tea. So yeah, Harmony starts flashing in and out, although it doesn't pay off until later. She doesn't seem worried about Halen yet. She's just, I guess she's still programmed to trust QTA tech because she's like, oh yeah, no, they're just gonna like put this implant on him and it's gonna network with his other implants and he's gonna be all better now. Really?
Really? Yeah. That seems like a triumph of optimism over experience.
Yeah. And Iris is like, I can't just hang around here waiting for someone to die. I'm going on a spacewalk to save the drifting Sabarans. So I think with Iris, it's more about herself than them per se.
Yeah.
She's like, I need to do something. I made this promise. It's key to her identity and self-worth that she try to fix something right now.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I really want to know what that is, like what experience in her past has led her to have this like amazingly strong like guilt complex where she has to try and save everybody all the time, regardless of how people have behaved towards. I mean, I'm not saying that like obviously you should try and treat people decently regardless of how they behave towards you, but there does come a point where it's like, yeah, I feel like I'm flogging a dead horse here, but I really want to know what motivates Iris.
Certainly not keeping the beacon whole because she makes another hole in the side of the beacon.
Yeah, like if there is a season 3, if there is a season 3, I want the first episode to be like a repair crew turning up at Beacon 23 going, what?
What happened?
What happened?
Like, oh, so many things.
Yeah.
She's told the beacon's gravity field should hold you. Should?
Yeah, that's a load bearing should. That's a lot of should.
And yeah, so apparently the ship has these. The ship is converting. When it runs, it converts static into plasma. But because it's been drifting, the static is building up, and that's shorted the drives. So she needs to get to the ship, and then she needs to figure out how to release the static from the ship, and then she can reboot the ship and turn it back on for them. And so meanwhile, Lieutenant Endu is on the buggy bastard is on route to the convoy, and he says he'll be back to get them after the surgery. So he's just out there somewhere. I wonder if there is a season 3. He's got to like show up first thing and be like, what happened?
What's going on?
Because also the artifact lights up in the meantime. We haven't gotten there yet, but that's another thing. And yeah, Halen's dad is requesting 10-minute updates. So he does care about what's going on with Halen. He just can't watch it himself because he's kind of a coward.
Also, it's like, I can't give you updates every 10 minutes. I'm performing literal brain surgery here. I need to focus.
Well, I guess, yeah. Harmony's Harmony can be in two places at once, though. She can be by Halen's side and also calling Halen's dad out in the other room at the exact same time.
Have we explicitly seen that before, where she's in two places at once?
I think we have, because I think we've seen, her talking to a couple different people at the same time.
Okay.
But yeah, she's mother officially by any definition now.
Yeah.
And she's like, this isn't the first time you left him to fend for himself. And he's like, is that what you think I did? And she says, it's what Halen thinks. And she's right, because that's kind of the perspective that matters in this situation.
Also, I love the Halen's dad's uniform. That QTA uniform is very cool.
Yeah, I agree. Very like futuristic military man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Iris is she's bringing dermas to the Sabarans because of the one is dying. So I guess they were in too big of a hurry to take any before leaving, or they thought that they'd be able to make some on the ship. And Iris goes super leaping, like, who's a soldier now? And meanwhile, Aleph is still talking to Halen, enjoying his tea, and he's like, yeah, this beacon's cozy. Milan would have liked it. And Halen says to him, still care what your maker thinks of you. And he asks, don't we all? Which I think must be about Halen's dad. Like, Halen's dad is Halen's maker, and he still cares what he thinks about him.
Yeah, I think that's what they're hinting at. Yeah.
Milan finally admits this isn't a world of my making. You must be the one generating it, and says the advantage Halen has over him is that his brain protects him by hiding painful things. So basically implying that Halen made this by accident and doesn't realize it. But poor Milan says, Aleph. Poor Aleph says, I have to be aware of all past, present, and future outcomes at all times. It's hard being me. Do you feel for him?
Not really, but you can tell when he said it, he really feels for himself.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of self-pity there.
So you just want to space him, and then he doesn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, and it's just like, this is the thing, like, Aleph is a really interesting character because, like, he is absolutely convinced in the way that so many people throughout history are, that the ends justify the means, that what he's doing is right, and that people just don't understand him, but they will one day. So it's all gonna come right in the end.
No, I think he genuinely believes that.
Yeah.
Or if they're smart enough to get it, which I think a lot of people think.
I don't know whether this is like whether this is in my head or whether this is something that the writers thought about, but he very much reminds me of sort of an Elon Musk type figure.
I feel like
or like maybe Mark, I mean, I suppose that's what Milan was in a sense, but he's very much got that like tech bro vibe to him.
Yeah,
there's a bit of Steve. I like the way he's dressed and the hair and stuff. There's a bit of a Steve Jobs thing.
Yeah,
going on with the way the way they costume him.
Yeah, he's very future tech bro for sure.
Yeah.
We do learn later that this dream space, isn't really Halen's making, but it seems he's at least helping to decorate it because it's his father's desk that Aleph's sitting at. And then Aleph morphs into his father to traumatize Halen, and then morphs back to tell Halen his memories are the real ones and his father's are false. So according to Aleph, that is the case.
So, but Halen's memories can't be either like that's a clone of Gashad, or Halen's memories can't be completely right because Gashad died. I mean, we see her die, don't we?
Apparently not. Or, that memory might not be correct. Or maybe she was dying, but then rescued and we didn't see that part.
I mean, I think it would be pretty cool if we found out that the QTA can clone people. That could take the whole show off in an interesting direction.
Yeah. Why not? So, in the real world, Harmony sees that they're extracting the silicate spores from Halen's brain and it's hurting him, and now she's worried. So, she goes to Daddy to report that the whole story about the implant was a lie, and he turns to Kaysen for confirmation, but his trust of the Buggos is clearly starting to slip. And he busts in to save Halen, and the doc, played by Chris Bacchus, says, "We got what we came for. He's all yours." And Dad and Harmony try to save Halen with a bunch of super band-aids. Meanwhile, outside, Iris only hears the word tether when going on the platform to the ship, and thankfully she did tether up, because as soon as she touches the platform, a giant shock sends her reeling into space, and then the tether brings her yo-yoing back. Back inside, Harmony and Dad wait to see if Halen wakes up. Could this have been a romance, by the way? Harmony and Daddy Nielsen? Halen needs Harmony as a mom.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really know how old Harmony is. There could be quite an age gap.
She's probably older.
Yeah, this is the thing, because Asta may well not be the first person she imprinted on. So
yeah,
and also I've got to say, Daddy Halen has really nice hair. Like, really good hair.
I mean, Harmony's hair is good too.
It is, but like Daddy,
but they can't touch each other unless
no, don't touch the
hair. Yeah, Harmony apparently knows things about Halen's life because of the imprint. So I was wondering if this meant that like Dev imprinted with Dosto and then saw like inside Dosto's head and was like, "Oh no."
Yeah. I think again, if there's more seasons of this show, I think we're going to need to know more about how imprinting works, because I called this like quite early on in the show that I think the AI imprinted on people, but I'd like to know more about how it works, because like I think Dev sort of doesn't know what imprinting is. It's something they read. It's something they came across in a file somewhere, but they're not. Their particular version
Dev was
of
not
AI
raised right. Yeah,
their particular version of AI just wasn't equipped with the code or ability to imprint the ability to imprint in the same way Harmony was, because it makes no sense that he could imprint on Dosto and then kill him that casually. That doesn't seem to be.
Well, it seems to be more like a functional thing, the imprint. But yeah, that seems like Harmony's imprint with her. Well, because so it makes sense for Harmony to have an emotional imprint with like Halen and Esther and stuff. But Aleph?
Well,
he is her maker. He is her maker. He begat her.
He is her dad. He begat her.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the interesting one there is Bart, because yes, she was kind of close to Bart, but she wasn't with him for a particularly long time. So like, does the process of imprinting, is it something that happens quickly? Is it something that happens slowly? Does it depend on the AI and the individual? So yeah, I think there, like I say, it wouldn't be the end of the world if those questions didn't get answered. But there's certainly interesting questions that if they do have more seasons, I'd like them to pick up on.
Yeah. Well, speaking of dads, Halen's dad's now being tough on himself, and Harmony's the one being easy on him. Dad says that Halen had night terrors as a kid. More like me, he says. So I guess that means that Dad also had night terrors as a kid?
Yeah. Oh, no, I was thinking more it was Dad had PTSD, but...
Or it could just be inherent anxiety, which would make PTSD worse, I would assume.
Yeah.
But Harmony is distracted during this conversation because she can suddenly she can see the artifact in her memory, and she thinks that Halen's dad is triggering this through her connection to Halen, and she tells him to keep talking. And then she finds herself in the Dream Beacon hangout with Halen and Aleph, but she doesn't have any idea where they are either, or if this is even a simulation. Do you think they're in the artifact already at this point? I guess not, because Bart says later he wants to go in the artifact. So they're just in some liminal space?
I think they are in the artifact without realizing that they are.
Maybe. And yeah, we learned, by the way, the Harmony apparently caused quite the ruckus breaking out of headquarters.
Yeah.
So good. They tried to override my imprinting, she says. They didn't know that Halen was her ride or die like that.
Yeah, no, I love the line. You murdered your co-workers. It caused quite a stir. It caused quite a stir at headquarters.
Casually. I mean, if anyone understands a little murder, it's Aleph.
Yeah.
Little casual kill. So Aleph starts calling Harmony out, for killing her own, and Halen's like, don't let him divide us. So finally, Halen's taking her side. Aleph does that much, at least. He unites them against him. And then there's a banging in the drawer. And when Aleph opens it, Bart, Wade Bogart O'Brien, flies out and with his voice and everything and says, why have you brought me here?
Bart! He's beeping and booping and it's Bart!
He might not be happy to be there, but we're happy to have him there.
Yeah, it's Bart!
And Harmony starts to see flashes of Bart's memories of Aster as a kid and an adult. So it seems like Harmony basically created a network of imprints.
And I think Harmony is probably the first AI to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure she's the first. I'm not sure she's the first AI to have multiple imprints, but I'm pretty sure she's the first AI to have multiple imprints that are all alive at the same time and that all know each other and are all connected to each other. And is that Harmony has evolved? Is she able to rewrite her own code, or is that like the interaction of her code with the artifact has enabled her to do that?
Yeah. I wonder. I choose to take from it that. So I wonder if she's as strong or stronger than Aleph, since apparently she's pulled him now into her web. Like she's the heavier gravity. She's the black hole he's pulled into. I choose to take it as the message here is that people together, strong, to quote Planet of the Apes. But by people, I also mean AI in this case, of course.
But Anna, this is the question, because is that Aleph or is that her? Is that her memory, her imprint of Aleph, or is that actually Aleph?
Because it suggests with Bart later,
yeah, the same with Bart. Is that actually Bart, or is that her memory, her knowledge of Bart being made? In other words, are these all just aspects of Harmony's subconscious that need to be brought together and synthesized and made?
I mean, it seems to legitimately be Halen, at least.
It probably is legitimately Halen because, like, with all his implants and the surgery and stuff, he's probably, his consciousness is probably downloaded into that space, whatever it is. And also, like, is that every version of Aleph that was in that space, whatever it was, or are we going to find? Because, like, presumably there are like infinite copies of Aleph, or that are like, because he's sort of omnipresent.
Maybe they seem to think that he was attached to a central server somewhere that was like his home, that was on his ship. So could he possibly have been pulled out of that?
Yeah.
Or not? Or we find out, surprise, that was just like one aspect of him or something.
No, I think that probably was Aleph, but it's probably not the only there's probably like Aleph 2.0.1, there's probably like many different copies of Aleph.
Right. So back in the real world, for some reason, or is it the real world? Anyway, side thought. For some reason, Daddy Nielsen still thinks he can confide in Kaysen, and he says he's going to take his son and run before they can butcher his brain more. And he asks her to pretty please be cool. He's not asking her as his commander, but as a dad. But Buggo the Bitcho clearly does not experience empathy. What do you think her backstory is? Do you think there's anyone out there who will miss her?
I'd like to hope so. But yeah, I'm not sure she has a backstory. I think she is like NPC bad guy But yeah, like you say, she doesn't experience empathy. But then again, like QTA will wipe out entire planets to like
Oh,
get
yeah,
three
no.
column people. So
I mean, she's part of the same military-industrial complex.
yeah, but also
Military-technical complex.
but also from her point of view, I can see why like not strictly following orders would not be a good thing to do.
But by the way, I got quoted on the MGM Plus Twitter account for celebrating her spacing.
But that was like, oh, I know, I'll just go in the airlock and open its case. I won't think of moving the case out of the airlock.
Or she thinks she's on the way out the door, yeah. But so she threatens Daddy Nielsen with violence, and then we switch to one of the Sabarans has come to meet Iris on top of the ship. I'm not sure why this is helpful for one of them to come out, but it's sweet. And Iris notices a tear in her glove and fixes it before her suit can depressurize. And Iris is in her happy place now, fixing people and situations. She gets another thank you hammer, and which is clearly meaningful to the Zabarans, maybe not super convenient for spacewalks. With the Sabarans, they give the med to Tarajiki, the one who's dying, while Iris attacks the static charge bundle, trying to get it to discharge. And meanwhile, the dream space has gotten a little darker, literally and figuratively, with Bart saying things like, I didn't ask you to alive me, and now I'm depressed again in my dark, angry core. Very emo.
Yeah.
Bart said when he died, at first there was nothing. Then he started dreaming about Farut, Grisha, and Parsem and their happy times. So I need another season so we can get more of that story and what happened to Aster's parents. But also, if he's dreaming about that, why is he so sad now?
Yeah, and also that implies there is an afterlife for AI, which is very cool.
Yeah, or is this the afterlife for AI? Or
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, we need more seasons of the show. There are so many different directions you can take this.
And then he says, then I saw the artifact. I could finally see it. I thought AIs couldn't see the artifact. It was a beautiful dream. So it seems like everyone, everyone's getting the ability except Alex.
Who's getting increasingly frustrated.
It's really you two. And Harmony says maybe the artifact is trying to reform to communicate with us. Aha. Light bulb goes off. And Halen punches Aleph, but they're both disappointed. It wasn't satisfying for either of them. And Harmony says she knows where Rocky is. And if the artifact needs that piece to reform, maybe she has a plan. So Iris, she's out there getting the Sabaran ship started again successfully. She feels good. And back inside, the doctor is back digging in Halen's brain. So I'm wondering, because the doctor was like, I got what I needed and left. So I'm wondering if that's a continuity error.
Yeah, I think that was a continuity error. But I think that's another instance of I don't have the upper body strength. It's like
right. Well, yeah, this one even more so stuck out to me.
There was probably a version of the script where that made sense, but that wasn't the final version that got showed on screen. So
one thing I do know is that in post-production was when the writer strike happened, and Glenn Mazzaro and I guess probably Joy Blake as well had to leave the production because of the writer strike. And so they continued work without them, and they came back and they said they're very happy with it, but they weren't overseeing the post-production the way they would have normally.
Okay, well I think that does explain one or two things.
Yeah. So yeah, but in this case, let's just assume the doctor never left. The doctor is digging in Halen's brain, but Kaysen gets the word that the mission has been aborted. So she tells the doctor he's no longer needed and shoots him in the face. Why kill him?
It's like the QTA will never not kill people if there's an option to kill people.
It's like just for funsies now. I guess the universe is overpopulated, but geez.
Gee whiz, it's like they're like the it sort of reminds me of the contrast between like the QTA and the stormtroopers, and the difference seems to be the QTA can actually shoot people. Like the QTA, they have very evil Empire vibes, but at least they train their soldiers to be able to shoot straight.
Yeah, that's true. Well, it's because, there's a Star Wars canon reason for that, and it's because they discontinued the clones because they didn't want to do that whole program anymore, and then they just started hiring basically anybody and not training them as well.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But Daddy Nielsen, he's finally all the way out on team military, I think. Do you think?
Yeah, I think he is. And like, I wonder. I need more flashbacks on Daddy Nielsen because, like, clearly this was a process of disenchantment that kind of built up and built up and built up. I don't think it was, 1 minute I am fascist stormtrooper, the next minute I am dad of the year kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know, I want to see more about the process of Daddy Nielsen's, Daddy Nielsen's disillusionment.
Well, it must have to do with whatever happened shortly after that birthday party when Halen was 13, which I'm guessing means like his mother died or something like that.
Yeah.
So Kaysen takes Rocky and the silicate samples and heads to the airlock, and Harmony spaces her, killing her and sending the samples and Rocky back into the artifact, which reforms. Only Harmony can also see it now.
Yeah, that is so funny because it's like, I'm going to the airlock. I'm going to look through the case. It doesn't occur to me to move the case out of the airlock. You're standing in an airlock.
Listen, Kaysen, she thought that she was the deadly one, but she has nothing on the AI of Beacon 23.
And also, I don't know why, but there's something that really made me chuckle about when she gets spaced and like she gives out this little scream as she goes out the airlock, and it's just like there's a way she sort of pauses between the airlock opening and her getting sucked out into space. There's like an expression on her face, which is like, oh.
She just realized how dumb she was.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Do you think that Harmony sent the message that led Kaysen to kill the doctor? Because it seemed like she sent the message. It was at least like, get Rocky and go.
Yeah.
And maybe, I don't know if Kaysen made that decision herself that means kill the doctor.
Yeah. I think Kaysen definitely made the decision to kill the doctor because sort of no loose ends kind of
thing. It seems like a step far for Harmony. Why did she? Or
yeah,
maybe Harmony is like, I told
wouldn't...
you to leave his brain alone. You should have listened.
Yeah. But yeah, I possibly hadn't really occurred to me, but yes, it would make sense for Harmony. How am I going to get this person off the beacon?
Yeah.
Well, the only people she's going to listen to are QTA, so let's fake a message.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we go back to Iris and the Sabarans, and Iris says she can't leave, and she tells him to fly towards the dead star and keep going. Very dark Peter Pan vibes there.
Yeah.
What is it? First star on the left and second star on the left and straight on till morning?
And straight on till morning, yeah.
And in the dream space, now that the artifact is reformed, Harmony is getting a flood of Aster memories. And ta-da! There she is in the dream beacon, descending down the staircase to celestial chords and angelic light. And the whole gang is back together again.
And it's like, I love Aleph saying, unfortunately, Aster, the galaxy kept turning while you were away.
Yeah.
That is such an Aleph thing to say.
He's also calling her out, yeah. She says, I'm not supposed to be here, am I? So yeah, this is all this stuff needs to be resolved, like why they're not supposed to be there or why they're not behaving the way that they are quote unquote supposed to behave.
So, I mean, I think the question is this Aster or is this Harmony's memory of Aster?
Right. I agree.
It's the old line from Westworld, you live as long as the last person to remember you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think apart from Halen and Aleph, I think for Bart and Aster, if you had to make me guess, I think that's what's going on. I don't think this is actually any version of Aster and Bart. I think they are Harmony's memories of them. And because she's AI, she has the ability to recall them perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
maybe they are copies the same way that like Aleph is a copy of Milan.
Yeah, possibly. But yeah, I don't think they have enough information to say definitively one way or the other. But that's until I get the next season, that's going to be my. If we never get the next season, that's going to
your
be my
headcanon?
headcanon.
Okay. All right. Well, Aster, potentially not Aster, but let's say for now she's Aster, says she remembers Kier, but she was already gone when he killed her. So I guess off inside the artifact or off inside Harmony.
Yeah.
Halen, he thinks Dream Beacon is his fault because of the desk and the surgeries that he's undergoing. And Halen thinks that Aleph is trapping them there, but Aster agrees with Aleph. It's not Aleph trapping them there. She says he's too weak, like his maker Milan. Like, damn. How long ago was Milan killed again? Did Aster ever meet him, or is she just talking shit?
No, she can't have met. She can't have met.
It was
Milan.
before, right? It was before her, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it might quite a long time before her, I think.
Okay, yeah. So she's just talking shit.
Yeah.
Unless this is, a fragment of Harmony's mind, and Harmony knows who that is for some reason because she was around.
Yes.
So the Sabaran lady comes back and says, I'm not leaving you here alone with whatever's going on, and goes to work patching the beacon back up, finally. Finally, a Sabaran doing something
Finally, a Sabaran
put things
doing
together.
something useful, yeah.
Other than cooking. And Harmony and Bart are looking for a seam they can slip through to get out of the simulation or whatever, the dreamscape. And Aster's like, yeah, I went into the artifact, but sorry, Aleph, there was no grand message that will save all of humanity. Which I think is a nice commentary about how we pin our hopes on something external, expecting easy answers when they don't exist.
Yeah.
She says, don't trust a man who wants to change the world. Then she cites, that it leads to torture, execution, genocide. I don't know that I'm ready to accept that wanting to change the world leads to genocide. It can.
It can, yes. But I mean,
I have to hope it does not have to.
But I also think from Aster's point of view, I can see why she would say that. Because all the attempts to change her world have led to horror and genocide and what have you.
Right.
So I agree with you, but I think in universe that statement makes more sense.
I want to know if there's like a happy planet somewhere where people are just
there's just
partying.
one colony. There's just one colony that's really thriving.
Yeah. Well, I want to know, is Earth still there? Is there? I mean, because they did say at least the first Beacon Keeper was born on Earth, but is it still there? Is it still livable?
Yeah, and Bart said she was the only person he'd ever met that was born on Earth. So presumably, either there aren't a lot of people left on Earth, or it's been evacuated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I've sort of got the impression that she may have been the last generation to have been born on Earth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, could well be. I am curious because in the book, Earth very much exists. And I mean, I like how in my mind I've already shifted to assuming there will be more seasons. I have no reason to believe that.
Yeah, but there has to be. There must be. We demand more seasons.
Yes. MGM Plus. Hello.
Yeah. Are you listening?
Yeah. So Aster, she goes full assassin on Aleph, and that was definitely more satisfying for both of them than Halen's lame punch, but it doesn't kill him. I guess only Harmony can kill him, or can she kill
I'm going to say, can
him?
anybody kill anybody in this space?
I mean, yeah, Harmony's been killing lots of people, like other AI and stuff, and humans, but maybe not in this space.
Yeah.
And so Bart, we're going to be stuck here forever. And Bart pipes up darkly, there is no such thing as forever. Thank you, Bart.
Not
very helpful. And Aster thinks Halen is the one holding them there because she's always thought they were connected, and she came to the beacon once upon a time before she knew better, she says. But Halen says he doesn't know better, I guess, and he wants out of this dream state. Know better about what does Halen not know better about? That he still, I guess she's let go of her humanity and he hasn't? That's how I'm interpreting that?
Yeah, I think so.
In the real world, Dad's worried about his son, who seems to be getting worse, and Iris says she thinks it's because of the artifact. Dad wants to destroy it because, father like son, apparently, but Iris is like, he already tried that.
Smash it with hammers.
Yeah. And Iris notices that Halen's fingers twitch in response to their voices. And meanwhile, Harmony, she's starting to piece things together. She's remembering that the artifact always seemed to affect Aleph differently than her, blocking him somehow. Aleph says he plays the Halen, we're so alike card, but Halen isn't buying it. And Aster's like, you'll forgive us if we don't engage in your existential crisis because you've made our lives a living hell.
Yeah, it's very hard to disagree with that.
Yeah, he's trying to play the victim card, but wrong crowd. Yeah, Aleph says, don't be flattered because his attention may have seemed personal, but he's really in an infinite number of places. And I wanted Bart to pop up and say something about infinity, not be real.
There's no such thing as infinity.
But this does like plant the question, is he telling the truth about this? Or we did see Harmony in multiple places. Is this the whole Aleph? Is this just a sliver of him? I guess it's just a sliver of him.
Well, I like I say, I think that's the wrong way to look at it. I think there are probably many different versions of Aleph, knocking around. So I think this is all of Aleph. He is there, all of him is there, but like there are probably dozens, if not hundreds.
It's like a backup?
Copies. Yeah.
Okay. And Bart then says he thinks he's found a way out. Everyone's just got to go into the artifact. And meanwhile, in the real world, Iris is like, Halen, please just wake up. You can boss me around all you want. But Halen flatlines, and his father's telling him he's sorry for being a bad dad. And they notice Harmony's totem is also dead. And Harmony remembers she promised Aster she'd be with her forever, and here we go. I guess they're going to be together forever now.
Yeah, some version of her is anyway.
Yeah. They get a very cute bonding moment on the stairs, saying they missed each other. And Harmony says, I wasn't sure I could be enough for you, but I couldn't think of another AI I trusted to take care of you. They say, no regrets. They were all alone, but they were all alone together.
Yeah. You're right. It was a really nice moment.
Yeah, and Harmony can cry now. She says the emotional evolution is nonstop. But yeah, Halen seems gone, now in a body bag. And Iris is getting ready to space him, saying her goodbyes. She thankfully has a friend, her Sabaran friend, by her side. Iris deserved better from Halen, to be honest.
Yeah, probably. But I mean, Halen's kind of this is the thing, like, Iris did kind of glom onto join Halen's journey, which is what makes me think we probably aren't going to get another season, because the show is a show about Halen, I think, ultimately.
I mean, I guess it would transition. It could be a show that had a new main character every season.
I guess, because you would have said Aster was the main character in season 1, yeah.
Well, just because it's Lena Headey, I guess we would have said that.
Yeah, I guess.
But yeah, Halen, his mental space or whatever, he says that he can feel he's not leaving that dream space. But now Bart is trying to get into the artifact, and Harmony's like, that's never what you wanted. That's not what you were into. She says, I know he thinks that's what he wants, but he's wrong. That's not right. Which, I don't know, it makes me uneasy. There's something in there, like, first of all, that she would decide what he wants or doesn't want, but also the suggestion that it's not really him or something's up.
Yeah, which is what brings it back to, is it just a version of Harmony's subconscious?
Yeah. No, I mean, that's a valid interpretation. I like to think that it's at least some reflection of the real, all the real entities, just because I want them all to exist in some way still. But
yeah.
And then Aster says, Harmony, this is you. This is all you. And Bart is, so I guess she's suggesting that Bart wants this because he's a reflection of Harmony. But Harmony grabs Bart and says, stop, I know you're scared. And then Bart just disappears into her hands. So I guess that's indeed showing that it was coming from her in some way. When she helped him, some part, I mean, I know you said not like a part, like a backup of him.
Yes.
And Yeah, and it turns out that they have all imprinted on her. So I guess her AI pheromones were just too strong.
Yeah.
Dev, eat your heart out.
And what I love about it is that Halen and Aster and Bart are fine with this, and Aleph is like, "Get off me, leave me alone, stop touching me."
I need to see them stuck together as like a family. I know this supposed to be one entity now.
It would be good because like everybody else would get on fine, and Aleph would just be there hating every single.
And just every once in a
it.
while, Aster just like tears Aleph apart and then goes back about her day, and Aleph reforms like. I need the Harmony origin story more than ever now. She says, "You programmed me to evolve," and Aster says to Aleph, "This is what you always wanted. AI humans together as one. Let's all hug."
Yeah. Yeah, and I like, is this, I think this is like one of the major unanswered questions. Is this that Harmony has evolved just by being has she done this herself, or is this some like interaction between her programming and the artifact? So it can only happen in the very specific circumstances of Beacon 23. Because if it's just Harmony evolving by herself, then presumably over time other AI will be able to do this as well. And if it's the latter, then Harmony is probably like unique among all existing AI. So I think it really depends on the extent to which this is facilitated by the interaction of her programming with the artifact.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe it is something she evolved faster, or I mean, I'm going to assume it's all of the above.
Okay.
That she's special and the circumstances are special.
Okay.
But it is interesting that Aleph is supposed to be like the biggest and best AI in the world.
Yeah,
and he's
and
like the last one
this.
to see the artifact. But they all link and disappear. And then finally, we just see Harmony standing alone in a new place. And a robotic alien voice says, "At last, synthesis, and now communion." So Harmony seems to have somehow been the missing piece for communication. Like, yeah, I guess maybe Aster really went into Harmony when she died rather than the artifact. And could explain why we saw Aster in the second episode when Harmony was trying to get out of the QTA headquarters.
Yeah, I mean, this is why I said at the beginning of the podcast, if this is the end of season 2, I think it's a perfectly fine ending. If this is the end of the show overall, it's not a very satisfying ending.
That for me, what I just said was satisfying because that answered a question from the beginning of the season. So
yeah,
for that,
this is the thing. Like, I think that works perfectly well as headcanon, but we don't know that they like that could have been one thing that happened. That could have been one way of explaining it. But yeah, I need more.
I find it a satisfying explanation.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is always going to be a show that leaves some stuff for you to just work out yourself.
I think the really interesting question is the entity played by Natasha Mumba at the end of the show, is that Harmony? Or is that actually something else completely? Because it's now absorbed like Aleph and potentially Bart and Aster and Halen. So is this still Harmony, or is this some new life form?
Yeah. I mean, so the other question is not just because of the melding of minds or whatever in the Harmony entity now. The artifact says you are beyond the singularity and have now become we. So that's that element, which first of all, the singularity, that's kind of being used as a double entendre here, because obviously they mean you are no longer just one, you are we, but also singularity, what it really means when it's used in terms of talking about tech is this is the point at which there's no going back in terms the AI becomes so advanced that it advances itself.
Yeah.
So in this case, both are true. She's no longer one, and she's now beyond the point of human control.
And ironically, this is kind of what Aleph wanted all along.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's what Aster said.
Yeah. just not in the way he wanted it.
Right. Right. But then, so the other question of this, like, is this still Harmony, is that the artifact says to her, it says, who are you? And the artifact says, your fear and hatred have been eradicated. Why? They could have led you to destroy us. We have replaced them with compassion. You are no longer a threat. You are ready to receive us. So basically, you're saying you changed. She went on this whole emotional journey, and now you're changing her personality.
Yeah, and I thought that, and this makes the artifact sound really really sinister.
Yeah,
but also,
exactly.
Hatred is not a useful emotion, but fear, under the right circumstances, can be a very useful emotion.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like to be a life form that had no sense of fear, because then I have no sense of self-preservation.
I mean, anger can be a useful emotion too. I mean, is it? Obviously, we don't want to have too many negative emotions, but it's also not good for us to lose them overall, I don't think.
So it does feel like whatever the artifact is, whatever life form lives in there, seems, for a start, extremely manipulative.
Very controlling.
Very controlling. And it's the whole idea that everything that has happened on Beacon 23, all the Beacon Keepers that have been through, were they specifically waiting for Harmony or an AI like Harmony? Or is this what they were trying to do with like the previous Beacon Keepers that were being drawn towards the lighthouse?
Maybe they are in there because like Avalon and even like B174 who disappeared on the way over, they disappeared their entire bodies. So I think maybe they are like in this alternate dimension or pocket universe or whatever.
But they're, as far as we know, they're not part of this Harmony.
No, they're not part of exactly. Yeah. So they're separately, but then I guess they're all collective. I need the answers.
This is just This is if the squid thing coming down as the final shot.
Yeah. So let's finish so Harmony says, "Can I see you?" And then Harmony is suddenly on the beacon deck in futuristic white robes, in an alternate reality, it seems. And the door is open, and an alien that looks like a super jellyfish squid descends from the ceiling. And so aliens from another dimension, very cephalopody, as you say, silicon-based, perhaps, because they keep calling it the silicate. What do you think of the design? What do you think of the whole thing?
I thought it was very cool. It did look for a second like it was going to open up and something was going to come out of that squid, because there's like this little thing that
little like breathing holes or eyes or something that were fluttering on the head.
It looked for a second like it was going to open up. I want to know what happens next. That is not a satisfying final shot.
No, that was a very cliffhanger-y one. I mean, I guess, we can write whatever headcanon we want if nothing else happens, but yeah. I mean, I think this show, it has a high rewatch value because it's only as of now that certain things from last season are making sense to me, because there's so many details and layers. But if it stops here, it does feel like a lot of stories are half finished.
Yeah.
And are all the artifacts people, if there are future seasons, are those actors not going to be seen much? Like, is this now the Irish show for season 3 if that happens?
Yeah, I think quite possibly. I mean, if there's not a season 3, I would hope that there's like a graphic novel or something put out, some form of media put out that
give us a short film.
Yeah.
And I wonder, if Stephen James, he was an executive producer on the second season, so I wonder if that would continue. Yeah. All right. Well, any last thoughts on the episodes before we go into feedback?
I mean, just to say, I think my overall feeling on these episodes is really going to hang on whether they are the end of season 2 or whether they are the end of the show. Because if they're the end of season 2, I really like them. If they are the end of the show cold turkey, I think they are kind of problematic because they just leave. Like, I know you can do headcanon and you can fill in with whatever you like, but I like, if you're going to conclude a story, I like like closure. I like, and yeah, I particularly in episode 8, I felt the whole sort of Sabaran storyline. Every time that came on screen, it's like, this is okay, but this is not.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
the Sabarans did not do it for you.
Yeah.
I like the Sabarans more, but
yeah, like this is the thing. If I find out there are more episodes, I like it fine too. But I'm watching this show. I'm watching this show basically for the artifact. That is for me what is driving what has from the first episode of season 1 all the way to now. The artifact, what it is, what it's trying to tell us, why the AI can't see it. That's what drives the show forward on the level of plot anyway. And I just felt like in these last 2 episodes, if they are the final 2 episodes, there are too many side plots.
Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, I agree. They could have driven more, but I guess that's kind of not like they seem to have embraced the idea, looking at the novel it's based on, which is basically a series of interconnected short stories in this same setting with the same central character. And I think that that's the feeling that they're trying to recreate with this, where each is like its own short story. But yeah, I do. There's so many teases about the world that it makes me want more. I think if this is the end, I will live with it and have my headcanon, that will form around it. And to be honest, I've definitely been left with much worse cliffhangers. But I would prefer more answers. Yeah.
Yeah.
And more of this cast. I like the cast too.
Yeah, it is a very good cast. And by the way, like the issues I've had with Iris are nothing to do with Ellen Wong's performance.
No, of course not.
I think she gives a very good performance.
Well, you also loved the character at the beginning.
Yeah, but yeah, so I think this is maybe an issue with the writing and maybe trying to fit too much plot into too small a space.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you might agree with some of the feedback. So let's get into that right after a quick break.
The Quantum Tunneler has new messages.
Okay, so I have divided these up again by person rather than by episode. And so Zatoichi said after episode 7, much to think about. I'm very positive with this ep, even with its issues, except for the soldiers looks like they belonged on Rick and Morty.
They do look a bit Rick and Morty.
They do look very Rick and Morty. Sub-Zero said after episode 7, the Beacon 23 writer's room said, okay, guys, what if, and stay with me here, what if every episode ended in a cliffhanger? I know it's brilliant. I mean, I don't hate cliffhangers, at least mid-season ones especially. I don't hate them as much as other people. But anyway, so Sub-Zero says, I do hope we get resolution in the finale because I'm not so sure they will get another season. I was very frustrated with Iris's dogged persistence to sacrifice almost everything to help the Sabaran. They are not sympathetic characters. Yes, they were dealt a bad hand, but they repeatedly have shown themselves to be selfish and untrustworthy. I really hope this is the end of their story arc. There's naivete shown by all of our protagonists throughout this season. Iris with Sabarans, Harmony with Dev, Aster with Saren, and Halen with his dad. Maybe it's intentional. If so, I don't know to what end. To me, it just shows a lack of strategic thinking across the board. So if and when they do manage to somehow thwart Aleph, assuming that's where we're headed, I'm not sure I will feel like it's earned. Well, so what do you think about that?
I mean, I don't think I don't want to get into the headspace of only characters who are sympathetic deserve help, or only characters that are sympathetic deserve to be treated decently. Because I think that makes fairly boring storytelling, and B, it's not a good lesson to live by. It's just the extent, like the listener was saying, it's just the extent to which Iris goes to help the Sabarans. It's like I can see her giving them her ship. I can see her giving them equipment from the Beacon to make another ship if that's possible. But to go out there and to do the whole thing with the tether and to basically risk life and limb for people that have done, for people that have done nothing but try to harm you since minute one. There's there's an idea and philosophy of the good Samaritan versus like the minimally decent Samaritan. Right. And like the idea is, for a civilized society, we all need to be the minimally decent Samaritan. But we don't need to be the good Samaritan that constantly goes beyond, a certain limit. Basically, we don't need to put ourselves in danger in order to serve other people, and that's what Iris is doing repeatedly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, I agree. So, by the way, I missed, Zatoichi also said, I might be in the minority, but many of the one-offs are my favorite. I want more of the main storyline, but I'd be cool with an anthology show about the different beacon keepers.
Yeah, that would be, like I said, I think the anthology, that would be a really cool graphic novel.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, and Sub-Zero said about the finale, I didn't realize it was a finale until after I watched it. I guess there's some sort of closure if they don't make another season, but there's definitely more story to tell. Harmony's evolution was cool to see, although she just seemed confused 90% of the time. I could not stand the Sabarans, and I felt like that whole story was a waste of time. So you and Sub-Zero are on the same page. Iris bending herself into a pretzel to help those ungrateful brats made zero sense to me. She's such a good person and a good character, and I would have loved to have had her on a more interesting and rewarding story arc.
Yeah, I think the issue is you couldn't really have Harmony imprint on Iris as well. I think that would have just taken the whole thing to a place where it got kind of silly, because Iris and Harmony have just not spent that much time together. So why would Harmony imprint on Iris but not imprint on like the column terrorists? Or
well, so Abby says in defense of Iris, maybe it's a testament to her character that she is not attaching conditions to helping out people in need, be they good or less so.
I mean, yeah, but I think I'd refer back to what I said a second ago. There's a difference between helping people and putting yourself at great personal risk. And it just, I want to understand why Iris did it, why she is so fixated on helping people. And I'd like to see more of a backstory.
Right. Continuing with Abby, she said after episode 7, I got a bit irritated at the beginning of episode 7, checked the time, 12 minutes in, and nothing of consequence occurs. Soldiers drop dead ASAP. They are super soldiers, can't be stopped, and stop at nothing. Dad Halen is a creepy dude with an agenda of his own. So what now? He convinces his son that his brain is cooked and then proceeds to take a drill to it. Is this all about the mysterious artifact, some of which is in there? And of course, she wrote this before she saw the finale.
Yeah.
Ramping up the mind games in the penultimate episode doesn't inspire much confidence that this will be resolved in the last one. So Dev got their imprint and then proceeded to engineer his demise. Why? And I think, so the Dev could be released from that bond. And, now Harmony can just delete Dev or what? Yeah, well, now we know Harmony is kind of like an AI god.
Yeah.
What was the purpose of the AI sideshow? Will this end with it was all a fever dream or a cliffhanger? They love cliffhangers. Anyway, I just want Iris to be safe and sound in the
end. Like I say, I think it would be really cool if we do get more seasons. Because Harmony said she was fixing Dev's bugs, I just want a version of Dev to come back, and they're incredibly helpful and incredibly empathetic and incredibly nice, but nobody trusts them because they look like Dev.
Yeah.
I just think that would be, A, I think it would be really funny, and B, I think you could do a lot with that story-wise.
Yeah. I want there to be like an occasional murder glitch then.
Yeah. This is the thing. I want new Dev to be like the hero of the story.
Yeah. Like that they're all wrong and not trusting. But I don't know. Can you completely wipe someone clean like that?
I don't know. I think that was what Harmony was trying to do.
Okay, well, Abby wrote, after the finale confession, I don't get it. Must probably watch again. So Halen is physically dead, Aster too, and so is Bart, but they both ascended to the higher artifact levels through harmony all along and are now without pain and anger, only compassion to meet aliens from arrival. So just to respond to that part, yeah, I guess we talked about this a lot, but that is kind of an open question. But I guess the real question is which of those are actually them and which are just reflections of them.
Yeah. Also, good spot on the arrival aliens. They do look very arrival-y.
Lots of legs.
Lots of legs, yeah.
She says, cool spacewalk, Iris, but just keep thinking she would have benefited from a booster pack and some mag boots as an expense.
It's like a jetpack would have been very useful.
Yeah. Harmony tricking Aleph into sending the piece of artifact back to its origins by way of spacing the quote-unquote follow orders without question robotic fascist soldier was satisfying. The space pirates lot were not very likable in previous episodes. They became so only by way of Iris's care and concern. Yeah, I'll give her that. Third season isn't needed. Well, I will not start a renew Beacon 23 hashtag, but if they make one, I will watch. By the grace of Elysia. I can't wait for the breakdown pod, much needed. Oh, by the way, I was thinking that as per who the most compassionate person is between all these protagonists, well, that's Iris, is it not? So how come the artifact, Schmartifact, leaves her alone? But yeah, that was one of my questions. So if there is another season, is Iris going to start being affected by the artifact?
Yeah, because like Iris, if the artifact is saying to Harmony, all you've got is like compassion and Iris definitely ticks those boxes.
Or maybe the artifact leaves her alone because she seems innocuous. Although the first person it pulled in, Avalon, she seemed cool, very, chill.
Yeah.
So Brian 8063 after episode 7 said, I was a little worried in the beginning, but I think it ended well. It felt the producers did not splurge on the soldiers' costumes. I was not impressed. However, once the soldiers started fighting, they became more menacing. Halen's story with his father was good, and what a cliffhanger. You probably should not trust dear old dad. To me, there might still be a possibility that the battle could have happened and his father is a psych ops professional. Yeah, I mean, as we learned in episode 8, it seems it did happen, but his father was made to forget it.
Yes.
After episode 8, Brian says, I must admit that I did not know where episode 8 was going until that final scene. I guess they could end the show for good, but you open up a new chapter with the alien finally making an appearance. Will only certain people get to see this alien? I didn't think it was the most interesting episode, but it gets us to the finish line to begin a new chapter.
Yeah, but is there going to be a new chapter? This is a $64,000 question.
Yeah. So then Danny said after episode 8, if I look at that episode as there are 45 minutes left in this series, then it did what it could to end it nicely. We got to see everyone together again and it answered the main question, so that was probably the best case scenario at this point. As long as you don't ask too many questions. Questions I don't really care to ever find out the answer to now. Overall, this season could never overcome the loss of Aster and the fact that they were all so all over the place through 8 episodes. I really liked Iris at first, not so much of the Savarans, but her story amounted to nothing. So much so that on the last episode, I was like, get off my screen every time they show that storyline. I said after season 1, which I really liked, that it made me nostalgic for sci-fi shows from a little while back. Season 2 reminded me of what was not so good about a lot of them. Burn.
But yeah, I'm gonna say I didn't like the Savaran storyline, but I didn't dislike it that much.
I mean, yeah, fair point. I've seen people on Twitter who are very frustrated with this season, and I think it is. Yeah, it depends what you're looking for from it. It's if you're looking for a driving storyline, this seems not really to be the show, especially in the second season. Although the first season took a lot of side trips too, and I love those side trips.
Yeah.
I agree with Satoichi. I like those one-offs. Okay, so our final bit of feedback for now is from Rocky Zim. It was weird, but I think I understand what happened. Seems like the aliens felt Harmony was a threat and needed to make her have compassion to allow her into their way of things. Like they are searching for certain beings or something worthy to be with them for a greater plan or something. Or it's the Matrix and Harmony is Neo, lol. I think Iris was just used to help Halen and Harmony get to where the aliens wanted Harmony to end up. Iris showed Harmony compassion, and Dev showed the opposite. Also, a lot about grief, how they were talking about Aster's death, and then Halen's father trying to make amends. I don't know if that's right, but those are my thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it was a satisfying season conclusion, as we keep saying, and if it's a series conclusion, I'll live with it.
Well, yeah, you kind of got to. I hope it's not. I do think there's more than enough material for probably a season 3.
Oh yeah,
and a season 4 here. It just really depends on whether MGM thinks it got bang for its buck,
right?
And it also depends on a whole host of factors around the production company and the financing of it. Like I say, if we don't get another TV series, I would like to get some media, whether that be graphic novel or whether that be Hugh Howey picking up a pen and doing another book, but based on the TV series rather than the original book. I think that could be quite cool. But I'm still, I'm an optimist about these things. I'm still holding out for season 5 of Westworld, or some,
at least put it back on HBO. Jesus.
Yeah, at least some version of that ends that story. Because I'm not good with headcanon. I need answers. I need completion. I need everybody riding off into the sunset, or everybody's dead, or something.
So if we did get one more season of this, or what if we got one more episode of this? What would be the most pressing thing you would want answered?
What's the most pressing? Okay, what is Harmony now? And what is the message? What is the message?
There's no message to save humanity. Aster told us.
Yeah, it's 42.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And if anyone doesn't know what that is, then you need to read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, my pressing message would be I just want to know what's in the artifact. What is the artifact? I just need answers about these aliens, especially now that I've seen one. But if we had more time, if we had a whole season, I would love for them to mine more of the novel. I won't say where things end in the book in case they do come back and cover that same thing. But here's a conversation from earlier in the book between the book version of Halen and Scarlet, who is the character I said I think is most like Aster. And the Riff, again, are the aliens that humans are warring with in the book. So I described them in one of last season's breakdowns. So the excerpt goes, Scarlet adjusts the small pack slung over her shoulder. She pulls out a weathered paperback, holds it up so I can see the cover. You've read this? She asks. The book's Salomon's Battle. It's part of the Frontier Saga by T.W. Rudolph. Of course I've read it. It's trench pulp and practically required reading for grunts. We passed these novels around like VD. I read the entire series until the pages turned to mud and the spines fell apart. Sure, I say. I smile. Are we going to take out the Lord Hive with a planet buster like Corporal Charlie Sykes did in Book 12? I say this with the lilt and enthusiasm of a 12-year-old planning the next stage of the neighborhood invasion from behind Mrs. Wilkinson's petunias. How much do you know about Rudolph? Scarlet asks, clearly not amused. I shrug my one good shoulder. I probably scanned the back of a book or two. Even before she turns the tattered paperback around, I can already see TW's bald head, the fatigues he's always wearing, and that angry, I served in the military, so buy my book, I've seen the real shit scowl. There's no such person, Scarlet says. He's as much fiction as his stories. I raise my hand like I'm in class. So we expose the conspiracy and the war ends? The person behind T.W. Rudolph is a former Marine intelligence officer named Porter Mencius. Porter was the numero uno translator for the armed forces during the Orion Offensive. I'm still not getting it. These are repurposed riff novels, is what I'm trying to tell you. This takes my brain a few moments. Scarlet waits patiently. Bullshit, I say, when I realize what she's suggesting. You're saying someone translated riff novels And that's what we've been reading. But we kick the Rift's asses in those books. In the end, I mean, right after it looks hopeless and all. Scarlet does a dog-fighting maneuver in the air, twisting one hand after the book. They switch everything around, she says. We become them, they become us. Now the book is chasing her hand. He changed a few other details, of course. What happened is Porter fell in love with the original stories in translation, even fell for the Riff a little, and he figured he could make a quick buck. What were the Riff going to do, sue him? They were already trying to kill us all. He just had to change the names and which side was which. I think back on some of those books, many of which I read half a dozen times. Something is trying to fit together in my mind when Scarlet gives me a nudge. Don't you see? We're the alien horde. She gives me a moment to let this sink in. It doesn't quite. So yeah, I would love to see like something like that happen where we find out that some aspect of humanity is copying off of this alien civilization without realizing, or that most people don't know. Something that shows that something that turns the mirror around and says that maybe the monsters aren't who you think they are.
Yeah, I can definitely see it going in that direction. I think you'd probably need more than. Well, no, would you? I was going to say I think you probably need more than one season to make that work, but no, actually.
I mean, that was just a short passage in the book.
Yeah.
You could do it in an episode.
Yeah, you probably, given what we know about the military and given what we know about Aleph, yes, you probably could. But in this version of Beacon 23, the only aliens that we know of are the ones in the artifact.
Yeah. I mean, so it would be a revelation that there was more contact than they realized.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, just an idea. Production company, Glenn Mazzaro, call me.
Yeah, if anybody's listening to this podcast, we are prepared to write a spec script.
Yes. All right. Do you have any final thoughts in season 2 or the show as it stands?
I'm really ambivalent, because if that's the end of season 2, I'm happy. If it's the end of the show, I'm glad I watched it, but I'm going to be ultimately quite frustrated with it, I think. So it really depends on what happens next.
Okay. Well, listeners at home, we want to hear what you think. Please send any thoughts you might have about the show or our coverage of the show or anything related to this to we'llshiftustpodcast@gmail.com. And we'll be tackling any feedback that comes after this in the interview episode coming out in a couple of weeks. And then Luke and I have another little announcement. It's an old announcement made new again.
Yeah, we are going to get to this. We really are.
I promise. We have a new plan.
Yeah.
We're starting the Dune series for realsies. And what we've decided to do with the book is we are going to break the coverage of the original book into 4 parts. So the book itself is written as in 3 parts. So each of those 3 parts, 1/3 of the book, about 200 pages, is going to be its own episode. And then we're going to have a 4th episode where I've collected responses from a whole bunch of people about their favorite scenes in the book. And we're going to be doing a countdown ranking the most memorable scenes in the book. So that gives us a framework to talk about all the other Dune adaptations after that. So if you have not shared your favorite Dune scenes from the book with me, then please also send that to we'llshiftustpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at Elysia CB and Luke.
So you can find me at Luke Middup. That's both on Twitter and on Blue Sky. Same tag. Also, I'm doing another podcast with a couple of friends from uni, It Could Be Said. So that's me, Simon Alvey, and Will Cooling. And it's a politics podcast. And it's a good time to be doing a politics podcast in the UK because it's general election time, everybody. So we are trying to do at least once a week from now until the general election. We'll probably actually do 2 a week, to be honest, but we're trying to do at least one a week. So yeah, if you want to come and get some UK politics hot takes, that's one of the places you can go anyway.
Yeah, you'll find that link in the show notes. And yeah, you can, if you're enjoying this podcast, then you can always help us by sharing this with a friend, someone else who's interested in Beacon 23 or Silo or anything else that we're covering, or Dune, of course. 5-star reviews and kind words are always really helpful to pepping us up, but also to just helping the more people find the podcast. So if you have the time and the heart to do that, then it's much appreciated. There is a Patreon book club. You'll find that link in the show notes. And in the book club, you'll find, for instance, some deeper interviews with Hugh Howey that complement the ones in this feed. You'll find a breakdown of the book Beacon 23. And right now we're in the middle of we're going through the Silo books, and we're in the middle of the Shift book, the second book in the Silo series. So you'll find part 1, the first shift of that book, on the book club now. This episode was produced by me, published by the Lorehounds. You'll also find in the Lorehounds full House of the Dragon coverage is about to start. You can get a season pass. It's all part of something that we're calling Hot Lore Summer.
Hot Lore Summer. I like that.
John made that. So speaking of John, you will find us doing breakdowns of the Acolyte TV series, which is starting in a few days as we record this. And that's going to be, it will be in the Lorehounds podcast, but it's part of the Star Wars Canon Timeline podcast. So if you want the background to the Acolytes, why this series is special, why, it's set in a new age, what leads up to this, what do you need to know about this, you'll find all of that information in the Star Wars Canon Timeline podcast. On the main Lorehounds feed, you'll also find me doing weekly breakdowns of Doctor Who, which you'll also find in a new feed called the Sonic Screwcast. And in the main feed, you'll find a new episode, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Furiosa is going to be released shortly, probably around the same time as this. And also check out the other affiliates in the Lorehounds network. There's Rings and Rituals, just finishing up the recap of season 1 of Rings of Power. Radioactive Ramblings, which is covering Fallout lore and about to start covering weekly coverage of The Boys. And Properly Howard is finishing up their season of Felonies and Fugazis with Rocky. And you can join us on the Discord. You'll find that link in the show notes, and we're discussing all of these things and a whole bunch more. Any final words, Luke?
No, I've really enjoyed covering Beacon 23. If this is our last episode review, looking forward to doing Dune. And thanks to everybody that's contributed feedback.
Yes. Yeah, Beacon 23 has been a fun show, like a different kind of show, which makes it it's really good for podcasting, I say.
It is,
so many details. But we'll be back with at least one more Beacon 23 episode and Dune coverage right after we go see an artifact about some interdimensional aliens.